We're not experts. We're not here to tell anyone what to do.
Yeah, we're just yapping.
And if this is not just the pinnacle of there's too much podcast equipment in the world, I don't know what is. Hello, and welcome to Band Yap. I'm Alexa Sanchez.
I'm Jose Sanchez.
And we started a band podcast. And a little bit about why we wanted to start a podcast. This is not a podcast of experts telling you how to do something or how to run your band program or anything of that sort. It is just us sitting here and honestly yapping about band.
Alexa and I are a married couple, and we work together, and so it creates kind of a different dynamic, and we're kind of excited about that. And we're both from small schools, so that's something we also wanted to kind of talk about and get into, and just give a different perspective on things. You know what I mean? Like she said, we're not here to tell you how to run your band or solve the band world problems, but just maybe a different point of view and appreciation of just being in band again.
And our plan too is it's not just always going to be us sitting here and talking, because we do have a lot of people who we're planning to have guests and come on and talk with us about different topics. But like Jose was saying, we're both we grew up in the small school world. So I'm originally from Axtell, Texas, which is a small 2A school. And I was in band, 6th through 12th grade. And then after I graduated from Axtell, I went to McLean Community College in Waco. And I was there. And then I transferred to Baylor. And so after my time at MCC, I was in the Baylor Wind Ensemble, did Baylor Golden Wave Marching Band, all that good stuff. And then I actually ended up student teaching at Midway ISD, and from there I was hired on, and I stayed at Midway for 8 years, which is a 6A district, which was very different than what I had grown up in. And then we had the opportunity to move. I had the opportunity to move over with Jose and teach at Gatesville, which is a 4A school. And I'll let Jose talk a little bit more about Gatesville, because it's really been his brainchild and his project developing that program, and we'll of course talk more about that. But I'll let Jose talk about his background.
As far as Gatesville, I've just kind of stumbled my way through it, quite honestly. So I grew up outside of Corpus Christi in a town called Sinton, Sinton, because, I say Sinton, everyone says, where are you sitting? I'm just like, but it is a athletic powerhouse in a lot of ways. If you're not in football or athletics, then it was pretty slim pickings from there. We were a very successful band program. I was a 3-year All-Stater. I was very fortunate to meet David Graves, who is my tuba professor at Baylor University. I spent 5 years there, did 5 years of marching band. Yes, I was one of those people. Did Phi Mu Alpha. Yes, I was also one of those people. And then, I was fortunate enough to have, Dr. Kevin Sedetall and then Dr. Eric Wilson, and been very fortunate in that. And when I took my first job, it was at Rosebud Lot ISD.
Another 2A.
Another 2A. It was 2A back in the old system, and then it stayed 2A when the system shifted. And I was there for 3 years, and I took the head director job at Wortham ISD because they actually eliminated my position due to budget cuts and restraints from the state, and that was a big shock.
I feel like that has kind of cycled back around again too.
Yeah.
That's kind of
that's a lot of school districts are in a lot of financial strain right now. But there's nothing that will kind of train you to put yourself up than going, hey, you're not coming back next year for whatever reason. Worst of all, because I did nothing wrong. It was just they were cutting coaches, and when they start letting coaches go, the band director's on the target board. Then I spent 1 year at Wortham. I was very fortunate there. Got our first sweepstakes since 1996 when I was there, and that was, I believe, in 2011, 2012. And during that time, I was doing the Waco Community Band and Temple Community Band, because I just didn't have enough to do, and my dating life had taken a nosedive. Very single. And then did the Waco Community Band, which, that was one of the best things for me because it gave me an outlet. Dr. Brian Harris both loved and hated me.
Shout out, Brian Harris. We love you, Brian Harris.
For a couple different reasons, because I was definitely a tuba player and I showed up late to every rehearsal. And now I look back at it and I go, for at least for community band, and I get after my kids about that. And I'm like, oh, I was that guy. I was horrible. And I would get the phone calls from different people, and then I would be like, I'm on my way. I also live 45 minutes out. So, being single, I also just lived in the band hall all the time. And then that's how I met Alexa. She told me to stop leaving my spit on the ground, and she then sent me a DM, and then we've kind of been dating ever since.
We've been together ever since.
Yeah.
He can't get rid of me. He's tried multiple times.
Yeah,
I've tried multiple times.
Yeah. So,
it's just not sticking. So
yeah. And now she works with me, so it's great. Now I get bossed at home and at work. But after that, I was offered a position. After Wortham, I was offered a position over at Robinson ISD with the great Bob Vetter. Fantastic man. Just great. I wouldn't be the educator I am now if it wasn't for Bob and that team, Steve Williamson, Robin Williamson, Crystal Michael. Just a fantastic team. And then when Bob retired, there was an opportunity for me to take over the head director position over at Gatesville. But I've been at Gatesville for 9 years, and it's been quite a journey through that process. And so I've gone from 2A schools to 3A schools to just fantastic programs. When I was at Robinson, we were the 3A state honor band, and so it was just like really great experiences. And I think some of the things that I've seen throughout the years has definitely developed me as not only a band director, but also as a human being. And that's kind of one of the things that we're kind of passionate about when it comes to band, is that how it's developed us as human beings more than anything else. Like, yes, we love music, but how are we making good people, and how it's developed our relationship and bond with one another. Just between our friendships and our marriage, and then just like the way we've connected with other people.
Right. Well, you said you're a tuba player. I'm a percussionist. But really where I've focused a lot of the time is in middle school band. So at Gatesville, that's kind of my thing too, is I focus on the junior high band. And of course I have a presence with the high school band and I help every day. But that was just never my dream, to be a percussion director and just do that all the time. Because ultimately, I'm just, I like band.
Hopefully anyone who's still in the profession, still loves band and just enjoys the process. I've kind of transitioned into a weird middle ground. Over at Gatesville, I'm also considered administrative, and so therefore my time in the classroom it has to be balanced. And that was kind of one of the reasons why I wanted to be in small school, is because one, the band program I came from, and everyone can measure success by different rates. My band program that I came from was very, very, very successful, but it wasn't as what I would say competitive. That's something that has been ingrained with me because I was part of the athletic program for a long time, and I just have this itch, and I think that's all directors. They kind of have an itch or an ego,
some sort of competitive.
Yeah, some competitive edge. I say that any band director always is going to have some type of ego or pride in what they do, because they look for that joy, they look for that energy, they look to feel wanted. That was always the thing that drew me to small school, because at the end of the day, when it comes to my seniors and my juniors and how those students are performing and playing, the only person I can blame for anything is me. Currently I teach 3 beginner classes, and then as much as I can, I try to get into our junior high groups. And then after that, it's high school groups, and that's kind of where my focus is. But I spend a lot of time in the office, unfortunately, doing paperwork and making sure that I can provide funds to the rest of my staff. Except for my percussion director, Michael Hamilton, who, if I say, Michael, you can spend any money, and any director can tell you, a percussionist will spend all the money.
There's just so many fun instruments to buy. But like I said, my dream has never been to be a percussion director. And I really like working with junior high students. I like working with high school students too, don't get me wrong. But I like molding the young musician. I just really like that age and what they're learning and how it sets them up for success in high school.
Well, not only that, but they also have just like a weird and interesting personality. They see their development. And I feel like I'm at the point in my career that if I can say something that the kids will cringe at, I will say it.
Yeah.
And so like, I'm like, hit it with the Riz. They're like, oh, please stop. I'm like, hey guys.
Well, usually the first reaction is, you know what Riz is? I will say too, and this is something that, I mean, young teachers really think about this. I haven't really thought about it since I've been teaching, but I was never an all-stater. I did not come from a program that really emphasized that, which is fine. I got a lot of great experience where I went to high school, but that just wasn't a focus. And so I kind of entered the ATSSB process at a strange time because it was, my first year that I auditioned was when I was a sophomore. And that's when you still had to pick a track as a percussionist. So I actually auditioned for timpani as a sophomore. And I didn't make it. I was like 2 away, which whatever. I didn't even understand the process at the time. And then the next year is when they changed and you had keyboard, timpani, and snare drum. And I made the region band my junior and senior year. And I had a great time. And I just thought it was the greatest thing. And if you would have like explained the all-state band to me in any capacity, ATSSB, TMEA, whatever, it would have blown my mind. But I had no idea.
No,
I knew nothing.
I totally get like,
I was so ignorant as like a high school child until I went to, MCC. I had a lot of great community college experience, and I'm hoping to, sit down with some people and talk about that at some point in time. But community college like really informed a lot of the qualities that I have now as a teacher and as a musician. Like, I would not have gotten into Baylor if I would have tried to audition as a senior out of high school. And that's just a fact. I had none of the, work ethic for it. I didn't have the skills for sure. And I would have had zero chance. And I didn't even know, when I graduated high school, I didn't know that I was going to be a band director. And I didn't know that that's really what I wanted to do. And so it wouldn't have made sense for me to audition at Baylor to begin with, because it would just, I wouldn't have gotten in. It would have been a waste of time and money. And so that's fine. But I really grew there at community college. And then it was definitely also, I feel like I lived so many years of my life just being ignorant of the things I was a part of. Baylor Wind Ensemble, the greatest musical experience I've probably ever been a part of. But you really don't even realize it until after you've left. And I realized it then, but it's just, I don't know if you have ever felt the same way, but it's just that is the greatest ensemble I will ever play in as a band director. I'll never be in another ensemble that achieves the things that they do musically. But, that also is informed just how I view music and how I view musicianship in general and programming choices and that kind of thing. But I just felt so ignorant to so many great things for so many years.
Yeah, and for me, it was kind of a different experience because, I came from a slightly bigger school, the old 3A school, and I was a 3-year all-stater, and I can remember, in a lot of ways, being the best musician in my band as a tuba player. I'm the guy in the back going, bo 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 bo, and asking my band director to hey, can I just go to a practice room and practice, and then go into an all-state band where you have Robert W. Smith and these fantastic 1 year I had Francis Macbeth as my director, and all this kind of other stuff as my conductor, and then going back home and going and it was almost deflating just because it was a completely different experience. And I had my aha moment at State ATSSB with Frederick Fresnel came up on stage, and I had literally just that month figured out who Frederick Fresnel was. And I was just is that who I think it is? And sure enough, it was. And it was just knowing that kind of stuff and starting to be enlightened by that. But Drum Corps International was a foreign concept to me and things like that. Because
you didn't go to DCI?
I did not.
My band director made it a point every year from when I was in 7th grade, from 2005 until I graduated in 2010. Well, I guess it's only 5 years, but whatever. It was before that. It was 2004 to 2010. She took us to San Antonio every summer. Every single summer. So, from me being 12 years old until I graduated high school, I was immersed in that, which is crazy that I was never, aspirational to do that kind of thing, because neither one of us marched drum corps. It was just like not a possibility really for either of us. But
financially, I mean, I'm one of like 13 children, which is like when I tell people that, they're like, "You really Hispanic?" And I'm like, "Oh yes, I grew up on a farm and everything." So here's my hot take about me being Hispanic: I don't like spicy food.
That's a problem because I do, and so as the cook for our family, I feel limited. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah. I like the flavors of things, but I don't want to pay the price for it.
And I overdo it sometimes. Yeah, I will say I have a heavy hand.
You do have a heavy hand.
It just depends on what it is.
There's been a few times where you've made a meal and I've had to turn to a bowl of cereal or sandwich because I just can't handle the heat. And I love your cooking. Like ladies and gentlemen, when I die an early death and my heart is full of cholesterol and blockages, it's because Alexis Sanchez has made, 50 years of fantastic food. If I get there.
If you're going to die happy.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say.
I'm fat, so therefore we're already there. So all these different experiences have kind of like given us both very different scopes of where we're coming from. I mean, because I was in a transitional time between Dr. Sedatal and Dr. Wilson, and just some of the different approaches that they both use, and they're both fantastic band directors and educators and artists. And just like anybody else, it's a change. And like, from what I know, most people have a hard time with change. But I would tell you right now that Dr. Wilson has been one of the greatest mentors and people that
He's a huge mentor.
Yeah, I mean, just great to me, and he's opened my eyes and opened my ears and dare say opened my heart to to different things about music. And it's not just about the notes on the page and things like that, and it's more about like the artistry and the just the overall feel. And that's kind of the same approach that we've kind of taken to what we do on the marching field, which has been really great. It's just different. It's come a long way. I mean, my high school marching show was 007. Just very different.
You've seen mine. I've shown you the YouTube video.
Yeah, they played the hustle.
We not only played the hustle, the hustle dance happened on the field.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
We got a one. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, I mean, there was moves that happened. I mean, I was all about it. And that's just
like, even because I watched, I'll tell the backstory on this later, but I watched the entirety of State Marching Band Contest this year. And just the way, and everyone knows this is not a new statement. This is why this is not a podcast hosted by experts, but the way that the marching activity has changed over the past...
She called it the activity.
The 10, 15, 20 years is like the most insane thing for anyone. It's just like the transitions. And honestly, like, you watch the drum corps and like the artistry that they create, and not even drum corps. Like in Texas, we have, the best high school bands in the country. Like, I'll just say that. But the artistry that these groups put out is just insane, and the innovation and the things that they do with sound. And it's just like cool to be able to see people do those sorts of things. Yeah.
I mean, it's like absolutely ridiculous. And like, I talk to my head director still, Robert Flores.
You talk to him like once a week.
Yeah, once a week for like 15 to 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Minimum. But he's been down in Texas for I think since like 1993, and like that says a lot. How many directors can stay in one spot for that long?
I will tell you this too, is I just talked to her recently, but my high school band director and junior high band director, Susan Young, she has also been in the same place since at least the 80s. I know she taught at Axel for a while, and then she left, and then she came back. But she's like an institution in the community. And it's just, she and I feel like Robert Flores are kind of cut from the same cloth. As like, they're institutions in their community, and they've built things that the community is like supportive of, and they know what to expect from the programs that they have. And I don't know, what year is it? 2025? That's crazy to think about. They've been teaching in the same places for 30 and 40 years. Like, that's so admirable. And I know that neither one of us would be in the places we are now without them and their influences. And I will tell you, like, my band director worked harder than probably any person I've ever met.
Didn't Susan like sew color guard flags?
Yes, and I'm sure she still does it. I've never asked her recently about it, but she would be in the band hall in the middle of the night sewing color guard flags or doing whatever she was doing.
Yeah, and Flores was kind of the same way, except that he was about that with marching band uniforms. He did all the sewing for all, and this is back before the snaps for marching uniforms. He would be in the uniform closet sewing pant legs. Like, he's all like, one of them busted, gotta do it. And that's just the way he was wired
these
and
are
operated.
Things, and somebody asked this question on our Instagram, but these are things that no one prepares you for. Like, I don't have that skill. I'm not going to be there.
Yeah.
Let's talk about like what our day looks like. So Jose and I have 3 children. There's a lot of kids.
Yeah, we got a 2-for-1 deal.
Yeah.
We had twins during COVID.
So we have 4-year-old twins and we have a 2-month-old. Rehearsal for high school band starts in the morning at 7:15. Which is not super long before school starts, but
day starts at 7:55.
Yeah, so it's not a long time. But I'm not able to drop our 4-year-old twins off at pre-K because they go to school across the street from us until like 7:30. So I leave the house after Jose every day. I drop the kids off at pre-K, and then I join in on high school band rehearsal.
Side note, we do not live in the same town that we teach in. It is a 30-minute drive to work. So,
and it's not for lack of necessarily trying, but we're just like, interest rates,
Yeah,
we just are locked in here, and that's just kind of like how we're just locked in.
Yeah, you're going to hate us for this. Our mortgage is a sub 3% interest rate.
And so it's just impossible for us to move. And we have a 4-bedroom house with 3 children. And so that just it just is really hard for us to just pick up and move, even though we're involved in the community, that we teach in. So I make the drive. I drop the baby off at daycare, drop the twins off. The great thing about the twins going to school in the district that we work in is that our marching practice field is the parking lot of their school. So that is so fun to drive by with them in the mornings in the fall and for them to see Daddy on the tower and just yell at him. And he never hears them. He's heard them
I've heard them before.
It's few and far between because it's impossible. The band is playing. But, that's just for the small school vibe, our marching band is literally rehearsing in their parking lot. And that's really cool. So we have first period band, and right now we're in concert season. So we have 2 bands that are split up in the same class period. And then in second period, we have an applied music class for high school and for junior high. And then third period, we have junior high non-varsity band. And then fourth period, we have the junior high varsity band. And of course, we all assist in all rehearsals as much as possible. And then after that junior high varsity band, this is something that I'm not used to being able to do, but we have a flex time called prime time. And the system that they've set up works super well, but you are able to pull kids any day that we do prime time. And there are certain, certain subjects have
protected days
where they have first priority. Now that doesn't mean that you can't pull a student, but that means if an RLA teacher needs to see a student for a missing grade, that they have first priority on that day to pull them. So it's been interesting to me to try to figure out how to utilize that time because that, like I said, that's not something that I'm used to. Now, where it gets tricky is during that time after the junior high varsity band, Jose actually goes and teaches at a different campus and teaches a beginner class.
Yeah. So the other thing that's interesting about Gatesville is that we actually operate on 3 different campuses with almost 3 different schedules. Luckily, our high school and our junior high are almost aligned, but we only have 1 band hall between the high school and the junior high. So our junior high students actually walk across the street.
And it's not just our program. Our choir is affected by it. Our theater is affected by it.
And we have some
CTE classes are affected by it. So at any point in time during the day, there's students having to cross the street to come to our campus. But Jose has to teach a beginner class at the intermediate campus, and we have some teaching space at the intermediate campus. We don't quite have enough. But Jose teaches a trumpet class, and then everyone else comes over and starts teaching a beginner class. So we have 4 periods of beginners. And then last period at the high school is the junior high sub-non-varsity band. So we are all over the place all the time. We have a great staff. Michael Hamilton, like he said, is our percussion director. We have a full-time percussion director who is able to assist all the time.
Yeah, which is fantastic. Like, right, he's grown our program
Shout
so much.
out, Michael.
Yeah, he's grown our program so much. We don't have like
spend as much money as you want, Michael.
We're having to like create extra ensembles in our high school band class during first period because we don't have a secondary band hall. We use the choir room, and so we have the choir room. We have a percussion area. I mean, it is pure like madness in the mornings because there are students everywhere, and we're having to teach.
I walked over someone this morning who was doing 4 mallet permutations in the hallway.
So on her way to teach baritones. So I mean, it's all over the place. So like facility space might not be ideal, but we make it work. But also in our last period, we actually have a junior high beginner class as well as a high school jazz band.
Yes, we do. So
music.
Back to our staff, Johanna. She teaches that junior high beginner class. So Johanna also does the junior high symphonic band. And she, of course, does some beginner classes too and assists all the time. But yes, she teaches that intro to band class. I forget because I never get to see her during that class period.
Because she takes about 8 kids up into, we have an upstairs area
which there's a lot of interest in that class. They tried to add someone to it today. And then we have Corbin. Hi, Corbin. Corbin Myers. He is our...
James Corbin Myers.
Jose makes sure that all of the marching band scripts say his full name. But Corbin is a saxophone player, and so he does a lot of woodwind-focused stuff. He does the high school non-varsity band. We're all over the place all the time. So like Jose said, he teaches, the high school students and assists and everything else, but he's also teaching 3 beginner sections, which is crazy.
And I mean, so like in my day, so part of my responsibilities is that I approve all fine arts budget requests. So if there's a PO that happens, I approve it for all fine arts. I'm also in charge of the auditorium schedule.
Okay, so that is what our day looks like. So like you said, we're traveling between 3 campuses every day. We only have 2 band halls, but it's just, I don't know.
There's never a dull moment.
I like being involved in multiple places and like just having a presence in multiple places. Now, I will say, I don't get to go to the junior high very much, if at all, because again, we don't have a teaching space over there. That is hopefully going to change here soon. But
one of the interesting things about like our job is that like my teaching hat for high school is different in my personality for my teaching hat for junior high.
That's true.
Which is different for my teaching hat for teaching 6th grade.
It's different in your teaching hat also from like when you clinic a group too.
Yeah, I try to do. I mean, because like band's supposed to be fun and like that's something that we try hard with, but we also, it's a balancing act with keeping the standard and expectation and not allowing students to just kind of do whatever they want, because sometimes they think that's fun. And I've said this several times, it's like being good is fun. It
just takes you a lot of work to get there.
Yes. And so it's just the teaching hats that we have to wear every single day, going from high school to junior high to beginners, back to junior high, back to high school. It's pretty much you're balancing plates at the end of sticks, just trying to hope that everything goes well.
Yeah. And then at the end of the day, when the school day is actually over, we usually have something after school, whether it's just, kids practicing or like Jose gets pulled into a lot of meetings or sectionals or so on and so forth. But I have to actually go get our children. And then sometimes they're band hall children, and then sometimes they're not.
They love coming to the band hall.
They just run. It's quite dangerous. They just like run around in circles. But luckily, our kids are like very good with our kids.
Our band kids are very good with our biological children.
Yeah, so there was a time earlier, and I don't know, like we should avoid this in the future, but we had a volleyball game that the high school band was going to play at. And also, for whatever reason, we also had a junior high concert on that same night. And so there's 5 directors, but that spreads everyone very thin. I didn't say this, but I teach the junior high varsity and the junior high sub-non-varsity. So I was conducting 2 bands on that concert, and we had 0 childcare for our kids.
So we have Alexa conducting 2 different groups. Johanna's conducting a group.
Yes.
Mike is managing the percussion.
Which is a lot to manage on a concert like that.
Yeah, and Corbin's in the sound booth working the lights and the.
Well, Mike actually also ran the slideshow in the wing.
There you go. So we're spread all the way thin.
And then Jose has the entire high school band.
And then I have the high school band in the gym. Doing that while trying to look after our children.
So there's like a picture of our daughter holding a flub drum, sitting in the stands, just like playing along with whatever they're playing. So
it was a great moment. Like for me as a dad, it's like great to have those opportunities.
And let's talk about that for a moment. So Jose, what is something you've accomplished so far this school year?
Accomplished?
Professionally,
personally,
spiritually.
I don't think I've accomplished very much, honestly.
Okay,
surviving.
Shut your mouth. So Jose, like I said, he's really, and he will never say this, I don't think, out loud, but he is really like poured basically his entire being into building the program that exists today. And for the past 3 years, they've made the state marching band contest. And that includes this past marching band season where they made state finals for the first time, which is very exciting. Congratulations.
Yay.
But the interesting thing about that is that also we had a baby.
I apologize.
The week before the state marching band contest.
Alexa being pregnant during the summer and during marching band and coming to marching band rehearsals like pregnant, like that's a real MVP right there.
Oh, thanks. But the funniest thing is that our son was born on area marching contest day. So I'm so sorry.
And I've been teaching for a while, but I'm going to tell you, I still get starstruck by band directors that I just know they're great, or like people who I know who are big figures. That it's like meeting a rock star to me in a lot of ways, but like getting to talk to Kathy Johnson, who is like a normal person, but I grew up knowing her with Argyle. And
legend.
I mean, I have to call her, explain what's happening, and then talking to Jerry Miller, who is like another.
And he didn't really say, but these are the people that are hosting the contest and running the contest
and competition suite and things like that. I mean, it's just like these big name people, and I'm just a little old band director. I keep in my lane in a lot of ways.
Well, the birth of our son was not unexpected during that time, but it was unexpected on that weekend. Although Jose said the entire time when he found out the due date, he said he's going to be born on area marching contest day.
100%.
But the thing is like I had been having high blood pressure the entire time. I went in that Friday and had high blood pressure. My doctor was like, I think you're okay if you think you're okay. And she sent me home. And Jose did not feel like it was okay. He didn't tell me, but he came home instead of going to the football game. He stayed home with me. And the thing about that is that we were moved to a new area this year and the contest was 3 hours away. And so the band was having to go spend the night after our home football game in a hotel in Denton and then get up and perform quite early the next morning. So
and if you're a head director, you all know that like you like things certain ways. You kind of know you have a process and you have like the way
like
you
a
want
ritual
things.
that you for contests or
like,
whatever.
And when you're not there to kind of, I mean, because ultimately you're in charge and it's your responsibility and your duty to do those types of things. And when you're not there, I mean, you're on pins and needles, and there are some directors who are complete control freaks and some people who are not. I feel like I'm somewhere in the middle.
You're a control freak.
Okay. I just like the way I like things. Let's just put it that way.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's all right.
So it was very much, hey, this was one of those times that I took a step back and I said, I need to take care of the things I need to take care of with my family. And Alexa will tell you, I'm a workaholic. I have 3 jobs.
And I didn't expect Jose to like do any of that.
Yeah,
and
that tells you something when she's like, I didn't expect you to stay here. And I know.
I didn't ask him to. It was just he made the right decision at the right time.
Yeah. Yeah, I would hope so. And that was kind of the thing, is that like my passion is band, but my life is my family. And so that's kind of a hard thing to, sometimes say, especially when you come from a culture like mine where it's you work. I was definitely raised on if there's an opportunity to make money, you should be the person to make that money, because if not, then somebody else is. And the culture and the way I was raised was like, you take care of your family, even even if it means that you are not there all the time. I mean, my dad was a farmer, and I mean, he worked all sorts of hours, and I didn't see him for long periods of time just because he worked all the time. My mom worked at Walmart. My grandmother pretty much raised me, so it was all about the work. And so, even now, I work for the Baylor's recreational facility. I work there on Sundays, and I work with Baylor Athletics, sometimes doing announcing, which has been a great break from being a band director. It takes time away from my family, but it's given us some little luxuries here and there to kind of do the things that we want to do and just kind of do some extra support.
And all of that to say, we don't have marriage figured out at all.
No, yeah, I'm surprised she didn't stab me today.
Well, there's still time.
Yep.
But we've been married for almost 10 years, and it's taken us about 10 years to figure it out.
So we're still not there.
We've, had our own share of trials and tribulations, but Jose made the right decision at the right time. And I was grateful for it because I was concerned about him leaving, going 3 hours away. But what ended up happening is that they stayed, and we sent our older kids with my mom. We finally kept taking my blood pressure, and we had already kind of decided, we're going to go to labor and delivery. But my blood pressure, one of the last ones that it was like 170 over...
It was 176 over 101.
Okay, so he remembers because it was traumatic for him. But, so, we went to the hospital, and... They diagnosed me afterwards. I saw my chart. It's like severe preeclampsia. So
no.
Well, which I had been monitored for blood pressure the entire time. I've had a twin pregnancy, but our son was born on area marching contest day. Whole thing is just you're anxious anyway, whether you're there or not. It's gonna happen.
It was just amped up, and real shout out. I said this to several people. I don't have a very large group of friends that I like,
and neither do I.
Yeah, and that's part of the deal with us being busy, and parents know that once you have kids, it's a little bit different. But shout out to Victor Garza. He's a real one. He was my assistant for 5 years.
I went to Baylor with Victor, and Victor also student taught with Jose at Robinson. So we've known Victor forever.
Yeah, for
a very long time.
So 10, 11, 12 years, somewhere around there. And, our son's middle name is Victor's middle name. But Victor, without even me calling, he hopped on a plane, flew up.
Because Victor lives in the Valley. He lives in Brownsville.
Yeah. He flew up and he got someone to go. I think Teresa Johnson, our band booster president,
picked him up
to pick him up to the airport. He came. He helped out with the band at the football game.
So the funny thing about this is I worked until the day that our son was born, and so I was there that Friday, and it worked out how it should have worked out because. That was my last day of school before going on maternity leave because it was close to my due date and I had already planned it out. And so I'm at school and they've already decided, regardless of whether or not Jose is going to area, Victor is coming up to assist and be helpful. And so I'm in the band hall and here comes Victor. And Victor is such a figure. It's because Victor worked in Gatesville for several years. And no one knows who I am. Everyone just knows that I'm Jose's wife, which is fine. I don't mind that at all. But Victor Garza shows up in the band hall, and I kid you not, 3 people who come down together. I couldn't even tell you who they are. Victor can. I couldn't tell you who they are. They come into the band hall and they say, "We heard you were here. We came to see you." And the entire high school band is at the pep rally, which I chose not to go to because I had finished teaching a class. But he shows up and they know that he's there and they come and they visit. The way that it worked out was crazy.
It's he got off the plane and
he got off the plane and there's
the relationships he built with the teachers, they all knew he's here. And so he helped out. I mean, he's a real MVP. And that comes down to some of the things I think with Victor building that relationship and those things and what he did within the Gatesville community was super, super important. And, him and I we still talk all the time. I talked to him earlier today. He hasn't called me back. I'm kind of offended.
I talk to him every day too.
So, but some of the things that I've said to him have really molded the way I have a view of myself and view of others. Mm-hmm. And I've told him this, and I think I've told you this as well, is that I want to be liked by everyone, and I try to like everyone.
And you're just ultimately not everyone's cup of tea.
Yeah, and I'm not everybody's cup of tea. Yeah.
So, which is fine. I'm not everyone's cup of tea anyway. I'm not here to please everyone.
Yeah. And we get that a lot from Victor, because Victor is definitely, you're going to like me or you're not, and that's something I admire about him.
That's something too that you need to I am an expert at nothing, but I try to surround myself with people who give me different perspectives on things and who are better at things than I am, because there's no point in me trying to do something that I'm not qualified to do or I don't have the skills to do. And Victor just has so much more, I don't know, courage than I do. And he
has a lot of courage. I've seen it.
It's so admirable. And if I like being around Victor because he's everything that I'm not. And it's the same thing in our career. It's just about surrounding yourself with people that pick up where you aren't able to keep going.
And, luckily, that's also one of the best things about our working relationships with our staff is that, like in a lot of ways, I'm everyone's boss, but I'm not their boss.
Well, you're still the boss.
Yeah, I'm still the boss, but like I don't ever say that. Like,
well, and you're well aware that you have flaws, and that's why you have us.
Oh yeah, I have a lot of flaws.
Yeah, I know.
Thanks.
So let's talk about the season that we're in right now is UIL prep. So we made the decision to go to UIL for high school and junior high in the same week. So Jose's high school ensemble both ensembles, they always go to UIL like the last week of February, the first week of March, which I think we're one of the earliest regions that we're one of does them. That. And usually our junior high bands go to UIL the last week of March. And that's what I'm used to doing. Because
we're a 4A, our kids are involved in everything. Last year, our junior high programs really started including soccer.
Which is great. We love our kids to be well-rounded.
Yeah, and so I try really hard to be cognizant of the schedule for our kids. And since I'm on a calendar committee and I'm in charge of like a lot of the district calendar.
Well, and you as a child, you were, in high school.
Yeah,
you were a football kid.
Yeah, but being active in all those things, I try not to limit the kids. And so we made the decision to go to an earlier contest for a junior high to avoid soccer season and making those students pick.
Right. And so to me, it came down to being an educational decision because we started looking at the calendar for where UIL would be for the zone and where our spring concert would have to be due to scheduling and sharing kids. And many people have to deal with sharing kids. It just affects us so heavily, especially if you're in a small school.
I think last year, because of the amount of kids we had involved in soccer, it knocked out the honor band's percussion section, like all 8 or 9 of them. And it kind of really made things difficult. With us moving UIL to the early contest, we were able to have a little bit more flexibility with preparing a spring concert on a different day that would not have any kind of overlap.
So my perspective when I was looking at it is I saw where the spring concert was going to have to be. And then I saw where our UIL program was going to have to be. And then I had to take into account testing because STAR testing is going to happen. So when I looked at it, I did not feel good about teaching kids in the month of April and not setting them up for success. And that's not to say that we couldn't do it, because we could, but I know what my ensemble is capable of, and I know what I would have to pick as a program for, it's the 8th graders' last junior high concert. And I know what I would have to pick for that program, and it just didn't feel good to me. And so I asked Jose if we could potentially look at going to an earlier contest, and it was approved. So that's what we're going to be doing. And I feel better about that than I would otherwise. But what are you playing for UIL?
Currently, I am looking at the Thunderer. And let me be frank with you, John Mackey.
John Mackey, if you want to come on our podcast, just let us know.
And then Infinite Hope by Brian Balmages.
Go Dukes.
So that is the current program. Hopefully these ice days don't continue to happen.
And that's the thing. And I will just tell you, today I've had an 0 for 2 week on rehearsing. Yesterday I had to take our son to the doctor because we thought he had broken a limb. Today, lockdown drill. Didn't know it was happening. And then also during that flex time, accidental lockdown. And so the whole process had to be repeated. So I'm 0 for 2. On rehearsals. And then looking at the forecast for the next week, we already lost a rehearsal last week due to the weather. And then looking next week, and they're like, Arctic Blast coming soon. What am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
Now I will say, I liked to go to the earlier contest, and I understand that. But
Here's the
these
poison.
conditions.
So we're now in the sub-30s rehearsal days. So it is gonna come real fast. But that's currently the program that I'm looking at doing. Hopefully it turns out good. Last year we had some really, really, really good concert stuff. I found out my band likes Sousa.
And that's it. I was gonna bring that up anyway, but I have known you for a very long time, and I know the marches that you like to pick, and I can't tell you how shocked I am that you're playing 2 Sousa marches.
Yeah,
in a row.
Being a tuba player, I there's a couple because
As a fan of Sousa marches, I can't tell you how shocked I am.
As a tuba player, and because I try to appreciate my French horn players, I try to stay away from traditional marches. I know their value. I appreciate them. I like listening to them for the most part. If anything, I like a good circus march.
Apparently, they're a bop though.
Yeah,
with the kids.
They seem to enjoy them, but I try to avoid them just because as a tuba player, I just didn't like playing.
And that's totally valid.
So that's something to take into account. And then the same thing, because like anytime I do a region band clinic or anything like that, the first thing I look at is the percussion music, because we all know as band directors, if you do not program well for your percussionist in any format,
you will lose them.
It is a battle just because they're in the back. And as a tuba player sitting in the back, I know exactly what I would try to get away with as a high school kid. That's why I tell my high school kids, I know exactly what you're doing because
it's true.
Yeah.
High school kids, if you're listening, we know.
Yeah, because I was a high school kid and I was a tuba player. The flute players can't get away with anything.
No, unfortunately for them. So yeah, that's your UIL program. I'm doing, in complete transparency, I just came back from maternity leave, but I'm doing Fort Canterbury March, and then I'm doing Time Lord by Gerard Hall, and then Fanfare Americana by Randall Standridge.
Randy Standy. So we love some Randy Standy. I remember playing some of his earlier stuff. Man, that guy has changed.
Adrenaline Engines.
Oh, Adrenaline Engines. Let me tell you, that was it.
And I have a problem, and I've done better with this program because I picked like a whole singer. But I have a problem with only programming Randall Standridge.
Yeah,
and
you have a type. I get it.
Brian Balmages.
We all have a type. I get it.
Every year for UIL specifically, because even for the spring concert, like I will probably play another Standridge, and that's just he just writes good music. Like, what am I supposed to do? He acknowledges the percussionist. He writes good music. I don't know what else to tell you.
Is that the hill you're gonna die on?
Yeah,
okay.
Like Randall Standridge. Follow us on Instagram. I would love it. But I just have a problem with that. I only program those 2 composers.
No,
so
it's great. I like the Randall Standridge.
But can you tell us a little bit about because I've never seen someone do this. I'm sure other people do it. Walking in the first day and seeing this happening, it was odd to me. So can you explain to everyone your rehearsal format for a concert band?
For a concert
specifically?
band? So I do something a little unorthodox just because we have a little bit of space that we can use, but we really push solo and ensemble with our kids, and that kind of helps us determine what we might do for marching stuff.
Well, it just makes kids better players.
Yeah. And I have my opinions about the other things when it comes to solo and ensemble, but it really forces the kids to be more independent or work with a small ensemble and kind of be more responsible for their parts. So the kids are juggling getting ready for UIL in early March, if not February. I think last year we went February 29th and March 1st. Yeah. For UIL high school. And we had solo and ensemble like a week and a half before that. So it's a lot of stuff, and because our kids are so involved, I try to give them every single opportunity to be successful during the school day, because a lot of our kids also have jobs and things like that. And so what I've done is that I have built a schedule after our warm-ups that I have what I call breakout sessions. And what they do in their breakout sessions, I build a Google Doc or a slideshow that gives like the plan for the day and the rehearsal sequence. And I pretty much have like woodwind only sectionals where I will just work with the woodwinds. And for 30 minutes, the brass players go into anywhere they can pretty much find. And they have 2 assignments. One, to work on their solo and ensemble music, or work on the music for UIL concert and sight reading. Now that takes a certain level of trust, but we have staff members that walk around and check in and answer questions and do those types of things. And so they're on a schedule, and then like I'll do that from 7:30 to about 8:05 or 7:40 to 8:05, and then we'll switch out the next group and we'll do the same thing. So then I'll give the brass players an opportunity to do that. And it if you're not prepared for it, it is pure pandemonium.
Which, like, you have very productive rehearsals. It's just I wasn't prepared for the level of people doing different things at different times.
Yeah. And part of the reason why I do that is because, one, we have a certain amount of facility space that we can do that. I mean, it's not overly huge, but it's enough to get us by. I remember being a tuba player sitting in the back, and like Mr. Flood is just hacking away at the woodwind parts, and me just being bored out of my mind.
Yeah.
And that's not what I want to do. And like, we'll do this for quite a while. And that gives me the ability to give individualized attention to certain groups. And hey, I actually need to work on this with this group when my brass players are sitting in rest, or they are just playing whole notes or half notes. And that just gives me that opportunity to give a little bit more individualized attention that way.
Well, too, you're playing grade 4 pieces, so it changes a little bit. But even then, you have a ton of percussionists in the program, and so while this is happening, Corbin is also rehearsing the non-varsity band, and Michael is juggling essentially
3 percussion ensembles.
Multiple percussion. He's more than 3. And then there's a lot of assisting going on in the background. But it's just a lot going on at one time. And like I said, I was just caught off guard. Not because...
and that's because, like, I've talked to you about it.
Well, I knew it was happening. It's not that I didn't know about it. It was just interesting to see live in person. But I also think, you know, like you said, instills a level of trust into the students where, of course, you know that they're supposed to do the right thing. But you do expect them to come back into your rehearsal and be better. Yeah. Like, regardless of whether they're practicing their UIL music or not, like, they're still supposed to be better.
Yeah, so if they ever show up to my rehearsal not being better, that's where we start having issues.
Right.
You know, one of my coaches, you know, one of the sayings he had, this was back in junior high, which was, you know, in the 90s.
I didn't last long enough in junior high athletics to find it.
He always said, it's not a sin to be weak. It is a sin to stay weak. And so, you know, that's kind of like something that stuck with me. And it comes back to that. Like, it's okay if you're bad.
Yeah. Everyone's bad at some point in time. I'm bad at a lot of things.
But yeah, it's a little unorthodox when it comes to like the rehearsal sequence, but it works for us, and I'm okay with that. And you got to just find what works for you.
Well, again, that's the thing is we're not experts. We're not here to tell anyone what to do.
Yeah, we're just yapping.
Yeah, I'm surprised if anyone's listened this long, but that is not the point for us to tell you how to run your programs. But this is what works for us. Let me ask you this. What is the best thing you've heard this week?
I don't know if I've had a bet. I mean, it's only Tuesday.
It is only Tuesday.
Oh, one of the best. I can tell you one thing. Lady checked my ID and she goes, "Oh my God, you're born in 1985? Me too. You look so good." I was all like, "Oh, you the real one. Thank you."
Good for her.
That made me feel good because, you know, Alexa tried to make me 40.
I was planning his 40th birthday party. Jose's birthday is in December. I genuinely thought you were turning 40.
Yeah, she announced it to the trombone class.
Yeah, I was like told my beginner trombones, I was like planning his 40th birthday. And he was in the class and was like,
Like, I might be mistaken, but I believe I stopped counting birthdays after.
Well, that's how it is. There was a kid today that was very upset with you.
Why?
Because you said that Hello Kitty was not a cat.
Hello Kitty is not a cat.
That child told me it's an anthropomorphic cat. And that child was very upset.
It's not a cat.
I don't know.
It's not a cat.
You can take it up with
There's a news report that Hello Kitty is not a cat.
I don't know what to tell you. Speaking of, this is a segment I plan to do every week. I asked some children today, next gen talk. This is what the Gen Zs are saying, or what they're talking about. And I'm sure at some point in time it will be Gen Alpha talk. Do you know what the Gen Zs are talking about this week?
No.
Do you know what the next gen talk is? Oh
No.
my gosh. How can you not know?
Because I'm out of touch.
TikTok.
Because that's about to go away.
Yes, they are distraught.
Yeah, it's because they actually will have to talk to each other.
Yeah,
now.
but do you know what everyone's doing? Not just the Gen Zs, but like...
Isn't there like a new one?
Oh my gosh. It's not even just a new one. People said, you don't want the Chinese to have my data. I will just sign up for the Chinese app. And so they're all signing up for Red Note.
Let's bring back Vine. Can we do that?
Oh my gosh, do it for the Vine.
OG.
Wow. Yeah, so anyway, that's what everyone's distraught about this week. Not only not only the next generation, like my sister is torn up about it. My mom thinks she's a TikTok influencer. I will say I'm not a big TikToker.
Me either.
I'm an Instagrammer, which is why we have an Instagram. Go follow us at band.yeah.
I mean, if they're here, they probably already are.
Well, I expect 2 people to listen to this.
Okay.
So, what's your Super Bowl prediction?
My Super Bowl prediction?
I haven't looked at the bracket.
Okay,
So
I think the Lions are going to win.
I think the Lions are going to be in the discussion. What is it kind of established that people think it's going to be the Lions and the Chiefs?
Yeah, I don't think the Chiefs have it. So Super Bowl, great, fantastic. Now let's talk about the national championship for college football.
Okay, I know you're pulling for Notre Dame.
Yep. Bring it home, Catholics.
Well, I think that's fine. I'm pulling for Notre Dame too. I don't know. I am a huge fan of the Ohio State University marching band.
Yeah.
I mean, I just respect what they do.
I mean, it's a nice tradition.
I will say, and some people know this about me, and like I said, I have like 2 friends. So by some people, I mean like you and Victor and like Jesus. I am a huge HBCU marching band fan.
Yeah, 100%.
Like a very big HBCU marching band fan.
Let me
They are
backtrack.
some of the most entertaining.
Oh yeah,
college
100%.
marching bands.
That is 100%.
And that's the entire point. So,
Yeah.
So who you think the Lions are going to win the Super Bowl?
I think the Lions will
And
win
you think Penn State's going to win the national championship?
Excuse
Penn
me.
State. I'm
Penn
so sorry.
State.
You think that Notre Dame is going to win
yes.
the national championship?
Yes.
All right. Well, that pretty much settles it. I think I hope that the Lions win. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I think they just have too much going for them. Their defense is too good. I mean, you know who I know it's not going to be? The Dallas Cowboys.
You know who also it's not going to be? The Vikings. Wholeheartedly expected them to win.
Can we talk about the Commanders doink?
You know that the Commanders are playing the Lions.
They're not, the Commanders are not going to win.
Well, you don't know that.
Oh, I'm...
Let the rookie quarterback have his moment. Yeah, but Dallas Cowboys, we're going to have a segment, or maybe not a segment, but we're going to have a question on our next podcast about what can fix the Dallas Cowboys. Because...
You know who it's not? Jerry Jones.
He's been trying for 30 years.
You know, it's not working.
You know what does live rent-free in my mind right now? And I know you've heard me say this, but I don't think you quite understand. Enron. I'm obsessed with Enron. And I signed up, and I don't know why I did this. First of all, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm not going to go in depth about it right now, but just go follow Enron on Instagram, which I know sounds crazy, but just do it. But I signed up for their email list. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just go look it up. Have a great time. I was showing Corbin today my Enron emails.
That's something special. Okay, so guilty pleasure TV show.
Mine?
Yes.
Which one?
Which one?
I've been watching Love is Blind, and you know that. Are you just wanting me to say it publicly? I've been watching Love is Blind. Everyone likes Love is Blind. You won't give it a chance.
Yeah, I definitely won't give it a chance because I'm not going to subjugate.
What's your guilty pleasure TV show?
I mean, it's not guilty pleasure.
Is it Blue Bloods?
No, I do love Blue Bloods.
I thought it was that.
No, it's right now. We've been watching a lot of Law and
Order. I don't feel guilty about that. I like watching it too.
I don't really think I have a guilty pleasure TV show.
You watch a lot of anime in your free time, which is not often.
Yeah.
We watch a lot of football. Like a lot of football, but that's about to be over.
Yeah, but I do like anime. I'm not like oh, I'm talking about anime. No, I'm not one of those kind of people. I'm a closeted anime person.
You will talk about anime though, if you're asked about it.
Yeah, it happens.
I had a couple of people who, first of all, again, follow us on Instagram, band.yap. And if you forget that, go to our website, www.bandyap.com, and you can find our Instagram from there. But I had a couple of people write into the Instagram for our segment, Ask Bandyap. I had 2 people. So the first one wanted us to talk about student teachers. Shout out Alexis Sampley. So, Alexis student taught with Jose at Gatesville. So Shout out Alexis. That's all I have to say about that topic right now. And then Salem asked us how we work together without killing each other. And to be honest with you, the answer there is just like, we just haven't done it long enough yet.
And we have some people that we would like to bring on that have
done it way longer than us.
Yeah. And
honestly though, I will tell you, I've never been mad at you about working with you. Or about like work.
Not yet.
Not yet. But like you've never like done something where I've been just like so angry and upset with you.
Yeah.
I don't know if you feel the same way. You kind of like, that answer was kind of like, you didn't say anything.
Well, I mean, I haven't been angry at you at work either.
But I think that's just how our personalities work. I don't know. But and this is funny to say that we don't talk about work that much at home because we're recording a podcast about band. But we just don't. And if we do, it's kind of like a short burst. And I think really what it boils down to is that we have so many other things going on at home that there's just not time to be mad at each other about that.
Yeah. I try not to be mad. I think we've, like, understanding as in our profession, being able to put things to the side as far as, like, what we do. Like, COVID was awful for me just because, like, I've made home. And I try not to bring work home unless like I absolutely have to. Yeah.
Like you do.
How often do I sit here and do work?
You have and like publicly addressing this, you have this thing where you are on all the time, which is fine. But if someone starts talking to you and you realize that you've gotten an email, you will look at it and it takes you a second to process it and you will stop listening to the person that's talking to you. And I don't know if you realize that you're doing that or not. Sometimes you do it on the phone and it's not intentional. And I see it happen sometimes, and I just have never said anything about it. But sometimes people think that you are just, like, not on the phone anymore. Because you've just received a Gmail notification.
Yeah, I have a bit of, like, so we've also started using Reminder.
Oh my gosh, don't get Jose started about the Reminders app.
Because like, I'm not one of those people that can live life with an email box with 7,000 email notifications.
I am the same way, but the way that I get around that is, first of all, I don't have that problem with email, but like Instagram, Facebook, social media... definitely work email. I don't have the notification turned on. I don't get notifications from that. From almost any app.
If I see a red circle on my phone, it will consume me.
I know.
If I see a unread email.
Now, the thing about that is that I didn't even have to talk to you today. Thank goodness. But I put in the Reminders app, Jose is teaching a baritone sectional tomorrow during my honor band class. And Jose said, oh, so you want me to teach a baritone sectional tomorrow? And I said, yes.
I'm a list person.
And you know what? He's going to do it. And I know he's going to do it because otherwise he will have a reminder.
I will have a red circle with a number next to it.
And so now I have cracked the code. And we have a family list, and we have a shared between the entire team list for work. And I just have figured out how to get Jose to do things. So if you, like I was saying, we don't have the answer to marriage, but maybe that's it for you. If you were trying to figure it out.
Like, we still got to hire solo and ensemble judges.
I've been trying. People are busy.
That circle's been driving me nuts.
Sorry. You can change the date.
I don't want to change the date.
It's in May, if you know that. Okay. Well... So,
brings it to my attention.
I think that's, what we have going on. This has been a long time. If you've made it to the end, congrats to you. If you've made it to the end, please send me an Instagram message and I will, send you a Starbucks gift card.
Don't promise that.
One person, the first person, I will send you a Starbucks gift card. But, we hope to have another episode out next week. And from now on, I think, I won't say from now on.
Yeah, we're going to try
to have somebody on with us every...
Yeah. We're also going to try and do this pretty frequently.
At least for a while.
Yeah, before we start going into bi-weekly.
And we're figuring out how to do this. And if this is not just the pinnacle of there's too much podcast equipment in the world, I don't know what is. Yeah. Because I do not know how to do this. I'm figuring it out. So just bear with us if our audio quality is bad or if I just don't know.
Okay, let me ask you a question before we start saying our goodbyes. What is something that's made you want to rage quit this week?
Rage quit?
Yes.
Like nothing that kids or you have done.
Well, that's
good.
But
the lockdown thing really set me off. But it was a silent rage. I think Michael picked up on it.
Yeah.
But I was like so upset because it tanked my plan. Also that, and we had a bunch of kids going for a field trip today. So I already felt like I was swimming uphill. And then the lockdown happened and I like about lost my mind. And then the lockdown happened again. And that really set me off. And you weren't there for it.
I was busy.
That,
we went into a secure.
Really upset me. And it was, and and I don't want to like make it sound like it's not a big deal. Like, we practice those things for a reason. The reason I was upset about it is because I was not expecting that.
The second one specifically.
I wasn't expecting the first one either. I don't know if I just missed it. I think Johanna said it was supposed to happen last week. But I had built a class plan and I was trying to execute the plan and then it was just totally run. So that, it didn't make me want to rage quit, but that like...
That was it?
Definitely messed me up. Yeah. You weren't there for that. What, did something make you want to rage quit?
I mean, yes, there's something that always makes me want to rage quit. And it is the number of spam calls I receive.
You get a lot, like 24/7.
I don't know who...
I get a lot too. You get more.
Who leaked my phone number or what I did to someone.
Probably your worst enemy. We already discussed this, but everyone hates you. So.
Yeah. But yeah, the spam calls, that's it. The spam calls is 100% it.
But, we're going to have people that are smarter than us, ideally, come talk to us. I already know one next week. He's smarter than us.
Yeah.
But you can follow us on Instagram, band.yap. And then you can go to our web. There's nothing on our website. Our website directs you to our Instagram. But if you want to go to it, www.bandyap.com. And then also, just listen next time. I've been saying that I'm the Elizabeth Holmes of podcasting because for the past, however long since I've told people that we're going to do a podcast, because we've talked about this for a long time.
Yeah. Well, I originally wanted to do this in the car with the kids.
Well, that would be too chaotic.
Oh, man. I'm here for it.
I've been saying, we're going to do a podcast, whatever. And then I just, I don't know, something has changed within me. But I just decided to actually do it. And just, an hour later, we had a website. But I've been saying I'm the Elizabeth Holmes of podcasting because I bought a website domain and started an Instagram about a podcast, and we haven't had a podcast product at all. Yeah. So
I mean, so if you're listening to this and we see you at Team EA, be prepared. You might get put on this podcast.
Yeah, mic'd up. Team EA mic'd up 2025. Who knows? We'll see. But listen to us next time. Okay.
And we out.
Okay, bye.